All right, let's get started here. How are you guys? Welcome, Lily. Welcome, Marilla. What's going on? Welcome, Michael. How's everybody today? Be right back. I think I'm battling a little bit of allergies going on here. I have some coughing and, all that good nose stuff going on. So, whoops. You might hear me kind of clear my throat a lot. I apologize. Give me 1 second. I think I need to get this better organized here. Okay. It's one of those times of the year, I guess. End of the summer. Best day of your life, Michael. You are very positive. I like your attitude. Welcome, Alvin. Lily's sore. Good sore, bad sore?
I tried my best to get here as quick as I could.
Who's talking? Alvin's talking here. Alvin has his mic on. I'm just going to mute you here for a second. Uh-oh, woke up sore. Hopefully not a sick sore. All right, well, welcome you guys. It is week 2, live lecture 1. And I want to just say that I saw a lot of pretty strong projects for your assignment 1 and assessment 1. How did you guys think? What did you think of those projects? Did you enjoy doing them? Were they a little bit more challenging than you thought? I noticed some of you guys having some gradient mesh problems, but it wasn't to the extreme. I could see some minor things going on, but it seemed like you guys had a lot of fun with it, especially the assignment 1. Still prefer pencil and paper. Yeah, I think sometimes we have a preference. I think once you get used to it too. There's a lot of people in here today. Good. Yeah, so it was great to see all the different styles and kind of the techniques that you guys tried out for your projects. Kind of interesting. You like the brush? Yeah, it was kind of neat to see what approach you took as far as either you took a portrait or a famous person's portrait. Excuse me, guys. If you want me to do critiques, say if we're working on an upcoming project, you can bring that in. I'm just going to take a look at a couple that I pulled from assignment 1 today just to take a look at it and say, good job. You enjoyed your grandson's pic? Yeah, that was great. It was so neat to see people doing babies and people that family members. Good question for sure. A lot of you guys did do a lot of great pen tool work. I would like to see a little bit more of playing around with maybe the width tool, kind of getting more variated lines going on for a more dynamic look. So I know in some cases it's not applicable, but it's nice to see you guys playing around with that too. You like the wish tool? I was going to say, I know a wish app, but I don't know the wish tool. Maybe there should be a wish tool, right? I wish I could learn this quicker tool, right? I got you, Lily. That was cute. I'll blame it on the full moon yesterday, right? Be careful what you wish for. There you go. The assignment said pen tool, so that's, yep. The only thing that you were supposed to use is the pen tool. So if you use the brush tool, I definitely pointed that out. So good point, Alvin. Did anybody have any questions about assignment 1 or assessment 1 or anything that you guys we went over last week? Not really. All right, so we're going to be kind of building upon a project, good, this week. All right, guys, awesome. So just general upkeep here. Just make sure you guys are getting your work in. I know we have had some daily checkpoint issues recently, and I just submitted some tickets about those URLs that aren't working. So if you attempted to take the daily checkpoints the last 3 days and the URL link was not working and you got it incorrect, I did give you credit for that. And then I did kind of create separate tickets for that through the school so they know that there's link issues. So I appreciate you guys bringing that to my attention. And I don't want you guys to you know, not get credit for something that you can't have access to. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to give you guys credit if you attempted to take the quiz. Is there a way to have more control of mesh gradients? If you use the direct selection tool, Lily, you can actually click into the vector anchor points and move them around separately. Yeah, or make more points. There is, and I showed this last week, that diffuse tool that's going to be coming out new in Illustrator. I'm not sure when, but hopefully soon. And that seems like it has, yeah, it has more, I think it's more intuitive. So that'll be kind of interesting once that kind of gets implemented into the new Illustrator CC. I'll play around with that. All right, so just make sure, some of you guys, yeah, it's kind of neat. I showed a video of it last week. So it's pretty cool. Don't forget discussion 2. A lot of you guys got started on this, which is great, and we'll go over that today. Just a little recap. Last week when we met up, we didn't really have too many people, so we just did a quick tools in Illustrator review of gradient tool and gradient mesh. We also did an assessment 1 overview and demo. Today we're actually going to be doing, I'm just going to show actually assignment 1 student examples. I didn't have time to pull some assessment 1. I was just going to do that and I lost track of time, but you know, maybe I can show them the next time we meet up here. But you guys did a great job. I just pulled 2 projects for assignment 1 just to take a look at in this class. Discussion 2 we'll go over, and then your assignment 2 we'll go over as well. Just do an overview and demo of that. Sounds like you, yeah. It's just been a crazy day. Crazy day. All right, so I just pulled 2 projects from here, so don't think, you know, if I'm not showing your work, it doesn't mean that I don't like your work or it's not, you know, good or anything like that. I just pulled 2 that I quickly thought were good examples to show you. Lily, yours is one of them, and I don't have the before picture up here. I should have that. I just thought this was a really great perspective that you kind of caught in this illustration style, and I think you did a great job with creating this portrait with variated widths of your lines. You know, you captured a lot of detail in there. Okay, Michael, you got a tutorial there, a very in-depth tutorial of illustration. Cool. We'll have to take a look at that. And it's you. Very, very cool. So great job. And Melissa was the other one that I grabbed too. And she did also kind of neat to see the 2 different styles. You know what I mean? Okay, it's very fast. Yeah, that might be something you might want to keep for assignment 2, Michael. Just FYI there. Yeah, so you did a great job. So a lot of you guys did a good job. Like, I could see those of you who did have pen tool issues, but a lot of you guys seemed like you had a great control over that and were able to smooth out your lines. There were some of you that really didn't have a lot of depth in your lines. You can see how the lines here go thick to thin, even this example here. And that really helps make it look more dynamic, you know, just gives it a nice style about it. So it's not just flat illustration. It's not just like, you know, a line that's the same width all the way around. It really does make a difference. Can add some character. All right, like I said, I didn't pull any of the assessment 1. I will get that together. I was kind of rushed for time today, so I apologize. I wanted to, did you guys ever play around with the blob brush? Blob brush. You ever heard of it? Anybody ever play with that? The blob brush tool? Okay. Let me stop sharing here. Let me go into Illustrator. Maybe some of you guys have heard of it. blob brush. So the blob brush tool is right under the paintbrush tool. So if you do Shift B, blob brush, it goes right to that tool. So that tool, it's instead of a regular brush stroke, it's painting with a blob. Oh, I should say blob. Yeah, I did spell that wrong. Sorry. Blob brush gives you a filled compound path. Thanks, guys. Thanks for noticing that. So let's see here. Let me make this smaller so that it's not as big here. So the blob brush pretty much gives you a filled compound path. So what does that mean? So if I took the regular brush tool, okay, and I just painted a line here. Oh, actually, this is a style. Why did I pick a style up here? Hold on, you guys. I guess I have a style pattern. Just paint regular. Oh, still going to that. What in the world? Let me zoom in on this. What's going on here? Oh, I have like a brush texture here. I guess I selected. Give me 1 minute here. Let me select a regular brush. That's weird. Usually it doesn't default to that. I just want a basic one. It actually looks like zippers, like like a jean thing going on here. We just want basic black. Okay. It looks like denim. You're right. Yep. That was a brush that was loaded in here called Denim Seam. So kind of cool things that you can do. But if you just do a regular line using just the regular brush tool, if I zoom in on this line, you can notice that the line is made up, it's just one line, and then you have these vector points, right? So you can't really fill it. If you fill it, it looks like that. It looks kind of weird. It's not a shape, but the blob, not the blog, but the blob brush right underneath the paintbrush, if you just do one single line, watch what happens. It actually creates a closed shape. Instead of one line, it's a closed shape. Yeah. So that's, I wanted to show you guys that because I didn't know if you guys ever checked that out, but just something to think about if you're doing something that requires more of a filled shape rather than a line. But we all know that we can still add a gradient to even just a regular line, right? We just talked about that last week. You used to never be able to do this before. You had to kind of make it a shape like I just did in order to add a gradient to that. But now you can add it to a line, which is kind of nice. So, all right. So that is the blob brush. If you guys want to play around with that, it's just something I kind of wanted to show you. Not the blog brush, the blob. All righty. The blob brush. Let's take a look at your discussion. There are some things that we need to just go over real quick, see if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. Week 2, don't forget to watch the little video here. I already put the announcements of the learning objectives that we're going to be doing this week, so definitely review those. There's a little video here, but basically what we're going to be doing today, this week, is we're going to be starting on a new 2-week project, which will be a centerpiece for your portfolio. I got some people typing here. I don't have my chat. Oh, okay, your discussion. It's okay. I mean, it's Monday, right? We're getting started. All right, so using Illustrator in the field, we're going to talk about in the industry, you know, what would we use Illustrator for? And it's good to think about this stuff because, you know, you guys are going through all these classes and you're learning the software and you're learning design theory and you're learning all of this stuff, but how do you actually apply it to the real world industry and when you go out there and you work in the real world? And sometimes you just don't know until you go out there. But, you know, we're going to kind of discuss it in this discussion about, you know, how you can use Illustrator in the field. And in my experience as a designer, and I've had 18 years of experience in the field working for different ad agencies, publication companies, and also my own freelance business, I've used Illustrator a ton of times, not just for corporate identity pieces like logo marks, but also for specific, maybe for magazine covers, creating specific mastheads, you know, just icons, you know. So there's so many different things that you can do with Illustrator. Sometimes it really depends on the focus of where you're working and what the purpose of the project itself. That's a good question, Marla. Marla asked, would you say you use Illustrator more than other programs? I would say I probably use, and this really depends, because if I'm working on a more of a photo focused project, like say if I'm working on I could be working on a book cover that's more illustrated focused, so I would work in Illustrator more so. But if it's more photography focused, obviously I'd be working in Photoshop more. And I think to answer that question, when I worked for the ad agencies, I probably worked more in InDesign than any of the other programs. And also, especially publication design. So Marla, if you could only use 2 programs. See, I can't even say that because throughout, I never just used one program. In the ad agencies I work for and at the publication companies I work for, I use all of them. Pretty much like Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. I pretty much switched, you know, like one to the other. I was a big Quark person. You know, a lot of people might not know what Quark is. Quark was kind of it was a a layout program like InDesign, publisher, like a publication program. You would lay out multiple pages, and I was a huge Quark person. That's kind of where I learned, and then I kind of had to learn InDesign as the industry kind of went that way more so than Quark. Yeah. Yep. I knew all the shortcut keys, Quark. I mean, I was like, you know, I was kind of sad when that kind of went away, but you know, Adobe kind of pushed it within the creative suite. So yeah. But it's good. It's good to kind of start learning new programs, because I think in our field we need to always kind of keep learning, keep up to date. But yeah, I think I use InDesign the most just because I lay out a lot of the final projects in InDesign. So I'm always kind of tweaking copy and placing pictures in, but I've always used Illustrator and Photoshop heavily too as well. So, oh, is it, Michael? I didn't hear that. It's interesting. He said Quark is supposed to make a major comeback. Well, we'll all be looking out for that. I think it'll be weird going back, though, don't you think? Has anybody ever played around with Freehand? Freehand is another older software that I learned on before I learned Illustrator. And it's like similar to Illustrator, but not as good. Oh, okay, Michael, interesting. Huh. So Freehand was kind of like Illustrator, it just didn't have all the bells and whistles. It was kind of a very basic vector-based program. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, so I mean, you might find yourself, I do have a lot of students that don't understand the concept of using InDesign because they're so used to using one program all the time, like Illustrator, for example. They'll do like a whole postcard or publication in Illustrator, and that's all fine and good, but there's pros to using InDesign for even just a postcard or an ad or something like that. And that's typically how designers work. They usually lay out your final project in InDesign. So it's good to kind of get into that habit. A freehand program, yeah. Okay. Sounds like the freehand program. Yeah, I think there was Corel Draw was another one that was around for that time period. Corel Draw is is one of the ones. If you hear that and you remember it, you kind of laugh at it now because it was a very basic one. Yep, Corel Draw. It's kind of funny to talk about that. All right, so anyway, let's go into the discussion here. Yeah. Industry, yeah, these are all good open source industry standard programs. Yep. And it's all relative to where you're working at, because I've had instances where I've worked at places, they don't have all the updated software and you're working on the older programs, and that can drive you a little nuts, and then there's some places that are like way ahead of everybody else, or they're all PC or all Mac, or, so it really kind of depends on the place and what you're doing too. So you kind of have to work around certain situations sometimes. GIMP is a good one. Yep, GIMP is a free software source. It's very similar to Photoshop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, bringing that up. That's a good thing to bring up. All right. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to read through this background. Now, does the PC and Mac still interchange with work? Yeah, I mean, the only difference between a PC and Mac really is the shortcut keys, if you break it down. Now, if you don't know PC as well, of course, you're going to have a little bit more of a learning curve of knowing where to navigate and find files and stuff like that, vice versa. So it's all about the shortcut keys in regards to that's the major difference when you actually go in and start designing. That's the major difference between Mac and PC when you're actually in the Adobe software. Yep, exactly. Control Command and Alt Option. Yep. Everybody has a preference. It's always good to know both. I know I've worked on both. I've had to, at some point. So it's always good to kind of know both, because not all places have, Mac computers and vice versa. So, yeah, it's always good to kind of know. And, it's really good if you're a web designer, it's great to have both because you can test out your pages. Say if you're doing coding and you're actually building web pages, excuse me, you can test it out on both Mac and PC. You can test out your website and how it looks on both Mac and PC. So there are pros and cons, I should say, of having both, accessible, just to think of it that way. All right, so read through this career relevancy. It just kind of talks about, how we utilize software in the industry today. Background information about Digital Illustrator. Okay, I'm not going to read this word for word. What I am going to read is down at the prompt here. So go ahead and read through this, talking about the web workflow. Linux is cross-platform. Yep, and one computer. Yep. So software is definitely important too. So it's just kind of, it'll be interesting to see where kind of everything evolves in the next 5 years, because everything changes so quickly. But all right, here's your prompt for the discussion. This is your final Illustrator specific course. Before getting to this point, you have taken the beginning and intermediate Illustrator courses and used Illustrator for many projects in other courses. Evaluate the skills, tools, and techniques you have learned and are comfortable using in Illustrator up to this point. Research what Illustrator capabilities and skills are generally needed in the field and what type of specializations could be beneficial to a designer. In your post, cover the following questions. Name 3 ways that Illustrator is used in the field. What type of specific skills and tools do they require? Which has been your favorite, most successful Illustrator project up to this point, and why? What specific tools and techniques did you use there? You may share an image of it if you would like. Based on your research, what Illustrator capabilities and techniques would you like to explore further and why? And then how do you see those techniques strengthening your portfolio and why? And you can embed an image of a project displaying the technique. So this is your turn to kind of, show your work, talk about what has been your most favorite, more successful, maybe more effective Illustrator project up to this point that you believe. Share your work. Talk about, maybe some techniques that you want to explore a little bit more in Illustrator. Maybe some styles that you are interested in and how they got there. Name 3 ways that Illustrator is used in the field. How do you guys think Illustrator is used in the field? I mean, that's pretty open there, right? I kind of talked about a few. What type of specific skills and tools do they require? All right, so answer the prompts and questions as well as you can in your own words, using your critical thinking skills and supportive, citated copy. You can have supportive copy to support your perspective. Articles that show examples. You can show examples of your own work as well. So we're just kind of pointing out how we use Illustrator in the field. How can we utilize it? What skills and tools do they require in the field? And then, basically talking about you guys and looking at your work and where you are at this point, what you want to learn, and how do you see those techniques strengthening your portfolio and why? All right, any questions about that? And there's actually, and I didn't notice this until now, and I actually didn't open these, so I should probably open these, right? There's discussion examples down here. I don't know if there was one last week. I must have skipped that here. My apologies. That you can actually see. These are new and kind of silly. All right. You can actually see how this discussion was approached by other students. And then obviously the little sticky notes are questions by the instructor. So you can learn from that too. What did the instructor say about this specific discussion post? Using your own words is always great. Instead of always citing everything, use your own words. There we go. I know, exactly. But sometimes it's nice to see how other people kind of discussed their work and stuff that they've been inspired by. Interpret, yeah. Okay, so that's there for you guys. And then you can also see how they referenced their citations as well. All right. There are some ways that you can look this up. Behance is a great resource for, looking at how Illustrator could be used in the field. And I just went into behance.net and typed in illustration. So you can definitely go into here and, take a look at how some of these, and maybe not all of them explain how they were used, but, maybe they're very simple illustrations, but you can definitely read about each of these and kind of get a good idea if they say any background information on how they were used. This one looks like a poster. People are chatting here and I'm missing the chat. Very helpful. Yep. What's nice about Behance too, you can kind of be inspired by certain styles that you see. Which you guys will be definitely researching for assignment 2. And some of these are not done just on the computer. So you kind of have to be mindful of that too. Like this one looks like it was hand done, Illustrator wise. I couldn't decide on my favorite projects for the discussion. Okay, well, think about not just illustration projects. Think about like logo mark, things that you created, such as logo marks in Illustrator could be involved in that. So it could be something that you might not be thinking of right now because you're thinking of illustrations. So illustration, what are they called? Stock illustration. You guys know stock photography, right? Oops, sorry guys. So there's stock photography like iStock photo, yeah. And typically they also have an illustration section too. So if you go to like iStockphoto.com here and click on illustrations, this is also a great way. This is also could be used for your discussions as how it's used in the industry today. There's people who actually create illustrations just to sell as stock illustrations. You know, people, you know, buy these for projects. So, you know, think about that. As far as your discussion, this could definitely be something that, you know, is used in the industry. Also, you can look up inspirational illustrations in here too. Like if you were doing a book cover or something. This might be a little too specific, but so let me go and look up. I'm going to be doing my, just type in Florida here. So you can look up specific styles of illustration in here for inspiration for your assignment too. We're gonna get into that here in a second. But I just wanted to show you that. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the discussion? And like I said, I didn't read through all this background information. Definitely go through that before answering the prompts down below. Okay. You guys are easy. All righty. All right, let's get into it then. You guys have no questions. We're going to get right into your assignment 2. I know you guys are probably anxious to hear what the heck's going on with assignment 2, right? What are we going to do now? What's going on? No, just paying attention. All right, let's get into week 2, assignment 2, and not waste any more time here. Did anybody get started on this? Not yet. All right, guys, did you ever hear of the design process? Maybe design methodology? Okay. Process steps. You ever hear of it? Yes, you should. Because you guys should be doing this every single project in every single design class, because this is what can really make you a really, really good designer. Going through your process steps. And a lot of designers don't do it. And you will definitely produce more effective work doing your process steps. Yep. This is the method behind our madness, right? This is the beauty behind what designers do, because we don't, you know, people think we're we are creative people. I like to say I'm more right-brained, but people expect you to always come up with creative ideas, and you know, we're human. We can't just always come up with creative ideas, especially if you're working in the field and have to come up with a billion gazillion concepts. I mean, it's like, you know, it's just not going to work. You know, at some point you're going to have some blocks and stuff like that. So the design process is really what helps designers think of more meaningful design concepts. very, sometimes quickly, sometimes it takes a little longer, but you go through these processes to come up with more meaningful designs instead of going from getting the project going straight to the computer. Yep. All right, so understanding and applying the design process is a vital part of your work as a graphic designer. Research, planning, and drafting should be carefully considered, and if done properly, will save you a lot of time when you start designing and produce a better thought out and solid solution that you will be able to stand by and explain to your client. So, when you start your design processes, it might seem like it takes a long time, but once you start, always doing your processes, the quicker you'll be at it. And when you get to that point where you're always doing it and it becomes like a rhythm, some of the things you can do just on the top of your head. You don't have to go into full detail. So it becomes quicker and easier to do as you kind of always go through the processes yourself. On the website Thought Company, Eric Miller explains the need to follow a process in your design work. He says there are steps of the graphic design process to follow that will help you achieve the best results. Rather than jump right into the design when you get a new project, you can save yourself time and energy by first researching the topic and understanding exactly what your client needs. Then you can begin finalizing your content. This will start with simple sketches and brainstorming, which is followed by several rounds of approval on designs. If you take the proper approach to your graphic design work, you and your clients will be happier with the final product. Going through this process will help streamline your work and save time in the end by avoiding having to reverse. As designing for a client has to fit a specific set of requirements, the process to produce an effective design is based on a logical flow. The following steps will help guide you in the process needed to deliver a custom graphic, how to create the perfect design process. So number one is research. We gather inspiration and information about market trends and competition. Brainstorm to generate and save ideas. Keep an open mind. Research, part of that can be, gathering that information from your client. Could be the design brief. It could be researching the target audience, and this could be all the above as well. Researching your competitors. What's the problem that we're trying to solve here? Number two, define and develop. So once we gather the research, gather information, inspiration, we put your ideas down visually. So consider several options to the solution. Narrow down your options and make design decisions. So you can have collaborative efforts. You can have your, somebody you call into, hey, let me take a look at this. Can we come up with some ideas? Or you can have a design team that kind of refines and edits out certain concepts, and you go back and forth with each other. But refining the work, seek feedback and make revisions. May take several rounds. Again, you could be showing this to the client and they'll give you feedback, and then you kind of refine it from there. And then number four is deliver. Now these steps aren't very, they seem very linear in how you do it, but it doesn't mean that you have to go always in this way and then stop. You might need to go back and do more research when you get to the number three step. So it's not linear, it's definitely flexible, and designers kind of have their own way of doing things too. So for instance, some of the things that I would do in my process steps would be an adjective list. That would be part of my research and development. I could go out for a walk, take a break, step away from my computer, take 2 hours to get away from it and then come back. And that would be part of my process. So there's also, some intricate steps. We're all different, but these are the basic steps that we should be doing, at least, that are shown here. All right. So, we do that so we can come up with better, more effective, and more meaningful concepts. All right, so for the prompt for this assignment, you will be starting the process of creating a custom illustration. Can you hear me? Maybe I put my arm on my mic here. Sorry, guys. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Still barely? Okay. Not well? Can I have to talk loud here? Can you hear me now? Okay. Weird. All right. For this assignment, you'll be starting the process of creating a custom illustration by creating a plan and submitting your first draft of your final portfolio illustration. You'll be starting the project this week. Get feedback on it in week 3 and finalize it with your revisions in week 4. Okay, so number 1, first, the purpose of the illustration must be clear. Choose from the following applications for your illustration. You will choose the specific topic for each. So 1, a book cover jacket, 2, a poster for a play, 3, a travel destination, and then 4, a website header. Okay. Number 2, next, do some research on your topic and different illustration styles. So you can do line, flat, and 3D or some examples that you can look at. 3, choose a specific illustration style that you want to explore for the project and save some example inspiration images of that style to guide you. Hold on one second here. So we do all of them. So you will choose the specific topic for each. Yes. Research the techniques needed for this style and watch at least 2 tutorials on the subject. It can be YouTube videos or something you find on Lynda or Adobe. Define the text that will be included in the piece. You will need at least the title destination. Choose the font you will be using and explore how to customize the text to integrate with the illustration. Okay, let me get back to you on that. I know you guys are typing questions in here. Number 6, do some sketching and plan your components in your composition. Number 7, plan your color palette. Consider your research inspiration and the specific theme you have chosen to guide you. Be sure to consider and apply your understanding of color theory. Number 8, get your illustration started and create your first draft. It should include the main design components and elements of your design, your text, and use of color. It should be completed enough to be ready to evaluate for specific feedback and improvement suggestions in week 3's discussion. Assignment instructions. You will be submitting your inspirational pieces and your final draft is a 2-page PDF. All right, so it should be 2 pages. On the first page, assemble 2 to 3 images that show examples of the illustration style you are aiming for. Page 2 will be the PDF of your first draft. Create an Illustrator file to the dimensions of your project of your choice. The first draft will need to include a minimum, so a major design component, persons, objects, scenery, etc., a plan composition, the text you will be using, a deliberate color palette, and the use of clearly defined techniques shown in your inspiration. You will also need to provide the link to the 2 tutorials you watch on the technique. Keep in mind that this is your first draft. It will need to be complete enough to evaluate, but you will have a chance to make changes. Add details and refine the techniques for your final week in final week 4. Save your illustration file as such, and so native file, but we're going to save out also as a PDF for your work in progress. And combine the illustration and the inspiration as listed above and identify which project you have decided to do. So you can pick one of those. It's a little confusing. Let's see here. It's a little confusing how this reads. Just pick one of these. You don't have to do all 4. Okay. I know I was getting to that. Yeah, it kind of reads kind of a little strange there, so I understand your confusion there. Okay, so you're going to submit the 2-page PDF. You're going to name it such, and then in the assignment comments section, provide the links to the 2 tutorials you watched. Yeah, so you guys were a little like, oh my gosh, I got to do all those. All right. Any questions? I know I'm going to kind of do a demo here, but any questions so far besides we kind of clarified that you choose one of these that you want to kind of do for your project. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to get some water for my throat, or else I'm going to be coughing the next hour. we'll take a look at some examples shown in here, and then I'm going to start the demo. Sound good? All right, you guys, grab some food, some coffee, whatever you guys, water, whatever, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right? See you guys in 5. All right, can you guys hear me? All right, awesome. Okay. Let's go back to the instructions here, so we're all on the same page. Does anybody know what they're going to do yet for the project? Do you have anything that kind of sticks out? Zoom in here. So you can either do a book cover, jacket, a poster for a play, a travel destination billboard, or a website header. Okay. There are some examples here as well to check out. Travel destination. What would I like to do? Book covers are always fun. So here are the examples that are in your actual project instructions here. So there you go. Could be something like, you know, something you've been wanting to work on. And just remember, this is portfolio worthy. So you guys, you know, need to spend some time on this. Pan Am posters, yeah. Yeah, they're great. So here is a student submission for this particular assignment. 3 inspirational posters. You need to have a reference with each of these to make sure you're citing that. The entire campaign. Look at Michael's going all the way here. So here is a billboard that was inspired by, you don't have to do 3 posters, but you have to have inspiration. So this is the inspiration, and then this is the outcome for the first draft. Yep. For your, and this particular person did a billboard, so. You guys are funny. The second example here is, I think, a movie poster. And here's the style, inspirational styles that this person chose to do. Yep, this is like a mood board in a way. It's just not very, you know, you're just having the 3 images and then posting your draft. Now, of course, you can show it more detailed if you want. Mood board, you know, you can have, you know, make it look, you know, I would design it. I think putting that attention to detail is always good. Mm-hmm. Whoops, this is your discussion. So those are the 2 examples in your actual assignment 1 or 2, sorry. And then, so the first thing to do is, and there's a lot of information here, is obviously you're going to choose a topic first that speaks to you. And next, you're going to research on your topic. Okay, so, you know, if you're doing a book cover, excuse me, if you're doing a book cover that already exists and you're just redoing it in your own style, you know, obviously you want to research what that book cover looks like, or what that actual book is about, the concept. Same with the play, poster for a play. Sorry, I had to mute my mic there. Coughing. So the play, obviously, you would want to do some research and development on what that play is all about, how you would approach it, design-wise. A travel destination billboard. You know, if you have a travel destination in mind, a lot of you guys were talking about certain states, cities. You know, research that specific city and state. If you live in that state, you know, obviously you know more about it, so that's good. Travel destination, you might live in a travel destination. If you don't, obviously you're going to have to find one if you want to do that billboard. And the website header would be, excuse me, is basically, if a website header means if you're looking at a website, almost like the splash page, like the first page that you see. Flames for what, Lily? Or Marla, sorry. Oh, in Arizona? Yeah, there you go. See what's sizzling in Arizona. All right, so then you're going to do the research on the topic, and then you're going to also research different illustration styles. So you can, you kind of played around with gradient meshes and the whole flat illustration with the whole long shadows. And, so you might want to go to Pinterest. You might kind of look up illustration styles. Pinterest is a great research tool because you can, view different inspirational illustration styles in here as well. So you might like more of the organic flat look. Here's one using flat shadows. Some have totally different styles to them, characteristics, personality. This is where the stock illustration images come into play as far as being inspired too by them. So you can definitely go into, let's see. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, guys. Not Behance. You can definitely check out Behance too. But stock illustration, you can check out the styles in here as well. Different styles. But let's say if you were looking up a movie poster. Some of these might not all be illustrated. Some of these might be composited photographs as well, but you could definitely be inspired by some of these. You could definitely set up your own. If you have a Pinterest account, you could set up a name under our class name. And if you see something that you like, that you're inspired by for this particular project, let's see if I put in this keyword here. Or put movie, but it's play really. You can, pin that to your actual specific classroom board to go back to. But you're going to want to take a look at the different styles and be inspired by what you see. You might want to go more of the simple look here, minimal poster style. So you're going to pick a look that you think would work really good for the topic and also for the actual specific purpose of it, so the artifact that you're going to use it on. So you're going to choose a specific illustration style that you want to explore for the project and save some example inspiration images of your style to guide you. Research the techniques needed for this style and watch at least 2 tutorials on the subject. It can be YouTube videos or something you find on Lynda or Adobe. All right, so then you're going to define the text that will be included in the piece. I know I'm reading this over again just so we can have a refresher here. Choose the fonts you'll be using to explore with that. Do some sketching, plan your concepts, your components, plan your color palette. You can have your color palette in your mood board. That first page, you can have, the swatch palette, and I can show you how to set that up. Get your illustration started, and this is your first draft, so you will be kind of refining this after this point, so don't think it's going to be like completely polished. All right, so for my demo, I'm just going to pick a poster for a play, and this is, you don't have to use a play that's actually a real play. You can kind of make it up. I'm going to do a poster. And in my poster, I was thinking about doing something about egrets, kind of like Florida-esque. So I looked up Florida posters, and I found some really cool styles that almost, kind of like a old vintage style type look. I have some great ones, like this one. I think I pulled off like this whole style of this one. I used to live in Tampa, so that kind of I'm biased to that. But I was looking at some of these illustrations that I was inspired by, and this is kind of the direction that I want to go. So I saved a couple of my images out. Some of them were for color too. So once you kind of get the topic and the idea, the concept, that's when you can start after your brainstorming and sketches, start your actual design work. So I'm kind of skipping ahead here. Amelia Island, there you go, like my daughter. All right, so, you know, obviously I'm picking a movie poster. There's no specific size to each one of these. So the book cover, poster for the play, the travel destination billboard, and the website header, whatever one that you choose, pick a good ratio for that. It doesn't have to be a specific size because there's no specific size listed. But say, okay, I want to do a destination billboard. You might look up, you know, typical general sizes for a billboard or a website header or a poster. You know, posters can be any size too, but pick something that's going to work for your topic and is within, you know, the size ratio that it should be for, that makes sense for what you're doing. This poster I want to do is kind of more on the lines of, I want it to be more long because I think that'll work because the image that I'm choosing. So I'm going to do 8 by 17 for my poster. You don't have to choose this for your poster. This is just what I'm going to choose. Now, obviously, I can have this printed larger. This is kind of the ratio that I'm going with. When you do a poster size, typically you want the ratio to be, you know, what you want it to be printed out as, but you can always print it larger. All right, in my search of, and let me go back here, I want to do like a blue egret or a blue heron type of a look. So I went and actually looked up, well, actually I took off this blue heron here and then as my inspiration, and then I went and looked up egrets, I think on Pixabay. So this is something that you can do because you don't normally illustrate just, I mean, you can do it not even looking at a picture, but it's always very helpful to have something to base it off of. So if you need to grab something to kind of trace off of, that's fine. The only thing I don't want you guys to do is to auto trace something, and I will know if you did that. Auto trace kind of does the work for you, and I want you guys to use your pen tool and, you know, trace it yourself. So I pulled off an image of an egret, and this is kind of how I would approach it because I don't like to just go from scratch. I like to have something to go off of. So I created my size. I'm going to save this. And you could do the same thing if you want. If you feel, you know, I obviously would recommend you guys kind of getting images, and you can composite these images together to trace off of so that you have at least something to go off of. Okay, so I'm going to place that image that I found that inspired me for this. In here, there it is. All right, this is more of a white heron or egret. Oops. Now I can use the pen tool and kind of sketch around this. I'm going to make this a template layer. So again, I'm going to click on the upper right hand corner of my layer and say template. And I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name this egret. I'm just going to zoom in here. And I can either use my pen tool or my other, my pen tool or my curvature tool. So it's completely up to you. If you really kind of got used to the curvature tool, oops, sure I have my stroke here. You can utilize that. So basically, I'm just kind of sketching this little guy out here. If you have inspirational images that you want to trace for this, definitely, I would say go for it. Have something to base it off of. I wouldn't just blindly do it. Be inspired by something here. Oops. Just do this really quickly here. And again, I'm doing this in the style. I should be doing this in the style that I place my artwork in here. I skipped ahead, but body is in. All right. And I'm just using that space bar to work around my canvas here. I'm going to end it. And I can go back and refine this by just taking my direct selection tool. And a lot of you guys should be playing around with this. I saw a lot of things that in your past work that could be a little, could definitely be refined. Going in with this direct selection tool and kind of refining your points is something that you'll want to practice. And zooming into your work, it's definitely zoom in here. So you're kind of getting all those details down. Pulling out those handlebars, eliminating any vector points that you think might be not really helping the situation, maybe making it look more jagged or less real. And then adjusting them. I'm taking out some here just to make it smoother. All right. So that's the general body, and I'm just gonna fill it. So that's kind of the body part that I just did. All right. Now, I'm gonna kind of work around this as I go forward here. I forgot to show you how to set up your file here. So I'm gonna give 1 second here. I'm gonna show you the rest of how I would end this. And then we'll go right to your inspirational images that I kind of got to this point. I kind of skipped ahead here, I apologize. All right, so now I'm just kind of adding these elements that are extra into into here. Oops. All right. You can use basic shapes if you want, like say if you have a rounded shape here, you can use the ellipse tool for the eyeball, for example. So I have to use just the pen tool, but definitely want to see you guys playing around with the pen tool. All right. I'm just doing this very quickly, you guys. Bear with me here. Probably should have showed this as a separate line here, but we'll just go with it. I'm going to end up weird there because I'm going to use my layers. All right. And then the feet part, obviously. Zooming in there, and I'm going to make these different sections. And I could put these on separate layers too. I just haven't gotten to that yet, so I can do that if it helps organize. Your stuff here. Why is coughing so much? All right. Looks like there's 2 legs here, so we're gonna do one leg here. And then the second leg would be tucked back here. Can't really see it, so I'm just gonna make up a line in the back. Okay. So I'm going to name this layer legs. I'm going to take this and this and pull up that red block up to the color legs so that on that layer. I'm going to name this egret. That's fine on that layer. That's the main part of the egret. And then maybe do another layer for the bill part, bill and face. So we'll do beak, beak, face. And then we'll just put this on that layer. Okay, so that way we have more control over this. I'm going to save this. I'm going to back out a little bit here. So I just basically did, you know, the basic shape of the egret here. Now I'm going to go to, let's see, do I want to do this in Illustrator or do I want to do it in InDesign? I think it might be better just to do it in InDesign, laying out your files here. You can do it in Illustrator, but like I said, it's always good to get in the habit of laying out your final pieces in InDesign. And I don't have it open, so just give me 1 second here. In the meantime, I can, let's see, I'll just wait here. Okay, so I'm going to open up just an 8.5 by 11 Illustrator or InDesign document. I'm going to make it 2 pages. You know, you can't see what I'm doing, so give me 1 second here. 2 pages. All right. Now, it doesn't have to be 8.5 by 11. You can be creative, make it square. It's completely up to you. I'm just doing this because it's, you know, it's pretty basic. I have 2 pages. And what we need to show is your inspirational images. This is kind of like your mood board. It's whatever you guys want to make it. Let's see here. Same group. I just made these blocks here. I'm going to place in the images that I pulled that I'm inspired by. Some of them are going to be bigger than others, so we'll have to adjust this here. I'm doing fitting, fit content. Oops, we don't want that. Object fitting, we want to fit content proportionately. I got like 3 maybe. All right. So these would be my inspirational images. Now, obviously I got all of these through Pinterest, but they all have their separate, you know, their separate sites that they came from. So for example, let me show you here real quick. Say if I'm using this to show as my inspiration, I have to click on it and actually get the information of where I found this. Typically down here, they have, you know, view website or view wherever this came from. I don't see it on here. Let's see, go back. Typically they have the information down here, but I don't see it. Okay. So in this case, I probably would just say, this is, you know, the link that I would paste is up here when I click on it. So I select all, copy, because there's no like direct citation of where this came from. Some of them do say that. That's why I was kind of surprised by that. But I do have a link. So I'll just do like a type area here. I'm going to paste that link in there, and then I'm just going to put Pinterest. And I'm going to make it very small and maybe centered underneath there. I see somebody typing here. Hold on. Would you copy the address when you right click? What do you mean? Let me see. Yeah, it's just not telling me where the original file is from, except for what the actual poster says. So, you know, in this case, I would just put Pinterest and add that link in there. It's the closest that you're going to get. Yeah. Let me see what the other ones are. I did click on the other, here, this one. Let's see if this one has, here, right here. So this one actually has a website where this is from. Typically they do. That's why I was kind of surprised. Okay, thanks, Alvin. Have a good night. It looks like it's not coming up. Let me get rid of some of these pages here. All right, well, this looks like it's getting stuck on here, so I'm going to click off of it. But typically they do kind of have a reference down here. This would be Anderson Design Group Store.com would be the site that I would go to get that information. And then I can also copy and paste this link in there. So Anderson Design Group would be this one here. And then I'll link here, and then you can also put Pinterest. AP citation. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I have the chat. All right. My hip. Okay, so just put kind of where you found them. Then obviously I have this last one to do here. Let me see if that one looks any different. If you're going through the regular image search in Google, you might have a better, you know, reference link there than I do here on Pinterest, but that's Key West. Okay, let's type in Key West. Because that one was Key West. Is this the one that I have in there? Let's see here. Yeah, just more bright. I like this one better, actually. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any reference for either. Let me click on it. It's just that. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. You might kind of, you know, if you're using that same source, you might run into the same issue. So I'm glad I kind of brought that up. I'm just going to Pinterest. There we go. Name this. All right. You guys are funny. All right, so you have the inspirational images in there. Now you can do, if you have the inspirational images that you want to pull the color from, you can definitely do a swatch board here, colors that you're inspired by. So let's do that. Let's see. Sure. Picking this. Just doing alt drag here, and I'm just gonna get some swatch panels up ready to go. Yeah. All right. So then you can just take your eyedropper tool in, let's see here, in InDesign and start selecting colors that you're inspired by. You could also do this in Illustrator. It doesn't have to be in InDesign. Sometimes it's easier to align elements. Definitely some Tampa colors here. Tampa and Key West. Old vintage style posters that I kind of want to base this off of. Anybody have any questions so far as I'm kind of making my swatches here? Okay. So that's kind of what I have my guides here. All right. So that could be what you show for your first page there. Now we need 2 tutorials on the subject. I have one that I found, and I'll just share like a few minutes of it here, that is similar style, and I found it on YouTube, and I just wrote in my search engine here, vintage illustration poster, and this is what I came up with. I'm going to skip ahead here. This is a longer video here, so bear with me here. All right, so he goes into sketching or tracing out the car. All right, skipping ahead here. All right, so I skipped a lot because, you know, obviously it was a very long tutorial there. But you got the general sense, hopefully, of that being kind of inspirational for my poster because it was similar style. It was more of a visual tutorial, but definitely one that I could use as my inspiration. So with that being said, for this assignment, you need to find, let's see here, 2 inspirational, let's see where it says here. I think I went below here. Research techniques needed for the style. Watch at least 2 tutorials in the subject. In this, when you submit your work, you're going to provide the links to the 2 tutorials that you watched in the comments section. So I did want to point that out, okay? So once you find 2 inspirational videos, make sure you're copying that link for your project. That was just one that I chose from there. Okay. Now, with that being said, I have, you know, my inspirational images. Let's just say I looked at my 2 inspirational videos. I came up with my page for my inspirational images and my swatches. The second page is for your first draft, right? So I'm going to go back to Illustrator. And I'm going to continue on with this poster. I kind of did a little bit of a different, I skipped around there, so apologize there. I can bring in my swatches at this point too. Let's see if I can bring this in. All right. So I'm just going to add each of these to my color swatch. Although I think I do want to go more of the blue route, so I'm going to maybe let me place in this picture here. I like this blue colors in here. So I'm just kind of sampling out these blue and green colors. There's black. Okay. All right. So now I can go in and start adding colors. If you know, obviously mine's more of a flat illustration style. Oops. Okay, let's just name this new color group. Add this to our swatches. All right, so I'm just dragging this into my poster swatch panel box here. Oh, that's not what I needed. Okay. So you can pull in your poster in here as well. Take from the actual poster itself. Drag and drop right into my folder here. All right. All right, so let's see here. Then I can start really colorizing this and making it, you know, the style that we're going from. Now you can leave that poster up and sample from it directly. It's completely up to you, kind of what he was showing with the car. Completely up to you on how you want to do that. Really switch these out here. I'm going to try and do this quick so you guys can see what I'm doing. Feet. Let's do. We can duplicate this, so I'm going to make this a little bit. Later. Later gray, since it's like back. Should be back behind this one. Switch those paths around here. There we go. So it goes behind there. All right. Let's see. Do I have a stroke on this? Just pay attention to your stroke. We're going on here. No, I don't. Okay. So just work on your illustration, get it to where it needs to be based on your inspirational posters. And that's kind of what I came up with my poster, and hide the template. Take a look at my egret here. All right. Next, what I can do is I like the whole idea of having this nice white border frame. I'm gonna name this, well, let me reset my like stuff everywhere here. Border, layers, there we go. And then I'm gonna make this slightly smaller. Get in here, oops. Let's copy this and then just downsize it. Okay. Now this is where, you know, if I wanted to bring in like trees and stuff like that, I can go and look online for tree examples. Let's see here. Or pixabay.com. I think I got rid of that. Just so you can have something to trace off of if you need to. Kind of like what that guy was doing in the tutorial, tracing those trees. So you could, you know, kind of look at the trees in something like this, for instance, to look off of. I'm going to download this very quickly here. I'm going to place the trees in here. And then I can, you know, trace over them, kind of my whole idea here. Using my pen tool or whatever, you know, the other, the guy in the tutorial was using the pencil tool. If it's appropriate for what you're doing, yeah, I mean, you could do that, but it's for more rougher edges. So I would advise you to like use the pen tool because it can get kind of crazy. I'm just gonna do a very sketchy look here. And this can be very messy because it's a tree. So we're just kind of doing the basics here. If you wanted to use a brush tool, you definitely can use a brush tool for this too. Obviously, I need to refine some areas here, but that's right. Oops. Okay. I'm going to close this line here. Basic shape here. Refining, I'm just kind of pulling stuff in, playing around with stuff. Yes, it's done here. add on some points here if you think it needs to be added on. Obviously, I need to refine this big time. Not quite coming to what I want it to look like, but I get the idea here. I don't think I did a template layer on this. So. All right, so I'm going to do a tree layer. This is very quickly done, you guys. Get rid of this layer. Group it, and then I can use this in the background or wherever in the colors that I want. Not bad when you're like not zoomed in on it, right? Halloween tree, there you go. Okay. So I'm basically going to, yeah, thank you for that, by the way. Make a shape here. You guys make me feel so good. Making fun of my illustrations. Rotate this a little bit. Stay on this rock. And I can do a clipping mask here. Oops. Set this in the back here. All right, let's put this on a different layer. Yeah, exactly. Okay. This must be. Hold on 1 second, guys. Case. Trying to do a clipping mask here. And I got some layers that need to go different areas here. Ah, it keeps knocking it out. Okay, I need to have this one behind this one. Where's my base border here? Hold on, you guys. Right there. Okay. This needs to be behind that one. Bear with me here. I'm just going to cut it out. I know it. Yep. Into my blue. We're going to keep that. Actually, we're not going to keep that. Let me see here. 1 second. Keep that white. And then, you know, just kind of plan your landscape. If you're doing a poster, you know, obviously you're going to have things going on here. Oops. Trees. Think about what your movie poster, your book cover, your website header, or your, what's the other option here? Travel destination billboard. It shouldn't have too many words on there, but kind of think about how, how you're going to word that. And I think for this one, I'm going to have it themed, because it's going to be a movie, maybe do something like Blue Regrets or something like that. I think that's kind of cool. That might be kind of cheesy, but it's a play. It's a play on words too. Now, obviously, you're going to choose a typeface that matches that. I'm going to fast forwarding here. So you might want to research if you're doing something vintage like this, more vintage typefaces that you saw in those examples. And that's what's great about, researching that so that you know the appropriate typeface to use. I don't think I have any in here. Let's see. I have a ton though. Not sure if I have any that are vintage. If you can't find anything that is similar to what you're doing, there's so many free websites out there that you can download the more appropriate typefaces for this. I'm just going to go real quickly here to see if I have anything. And then maybe on the movie poster, just like in the example that you saw in class, you would just have, the date of the play, what time as well. So very simple. You don't have to put body copy on there or anything like that. I'm actually going to download a typeface because I can't find it. It's going to drive me crazy. Limousine. I don't know if I have that. Okay, let's hold on 1 second here. Limousine. That sounds. I might have that. It's like a vintage movie poster. Yeah. There's movies and TV. The only bad thing about movies and TV is some of them are really specific to a specific movie. So let's look up, here's retro. So this might work here. It's actually pretty cool. Something like this would be perfect. Let's download this one just for CSAC resort. All right, let's do that. All right, so let's go look up Seaside Resort. Here we go. And then adjust it accordingly to like how you want. I'm not sure if this is the perfect font, but it has that vintage feel for sure. And then down below, maybe in regular PM, let's see. Let's do 8, what's today's date? The 27th? We do like universe or something like that, very condensed, smaller. Don't forget about alignment. You know, you make sure your elements are aligned. All right. And then, of course, I would play around with these. Maybe put more background imagery here. Maybe adding, oops, adding another surface. Layers. Start bringing this down so everything's kind of back behind it. Swatches. Now you might be adding more details than what I put here. You might have gradient meshes that you're playing around with. Go a little later here. Let's go. Let's see. Copy of this. It's a little darker. You can play around with the transparency, all kinds of stuff. Some of these areas here. Kind of like the darker colors. Maybe give it a transparent look here. Maybe even go white on this one. Hold on 1 second. Somebody just messaged. So just kind of playing around with everything. Making a moon. There you go. These there you go. Use this clipping mask here. There we go. All right, I have this needs to be on this border. I got my background held back here. I want this to be light blue. Where's my border? I lost my border in my release of my clipping mask. So let me make that again. While I'm doing this, does anybody have any questions? What is expected so far? Now I'm kind of getting into the nitty-gritty stuff here. Oops. All Yeah, my layers aren't quite right here. I'm having problems with getting this just right to clip. And I think I have to have my border above my base. Let's see. Yeah, see now this has to go back behind. All things here. All right. It's clipped into that, but not that. It's like trying to select both of them. There we go. Well, that's not going to work either. Get these out of here. All right. Let me get rid of these layers and then start from scratch here. So we got the border. This is actually in the blue, and then we'll do a border. There we go. All right. Try this again. I was getting kind of crazy with all my layers. That's what happens. All right, where are my colors? Now, don't forget all the things that we talked about in last week's discussion about time efficiency and all that. If you have, and obviously I'm not showing the great part of that right now because I'm, for some reason, all of my palettes are hiding. But if you want to, you can save your own custom palettes that pop up even, when you close out and come back in. If you save your own assets up here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Mine's set to essentials. I'm gonna reset this. But you can actually save your own. So you say new workspace, and then everything that you have up here, once you save it, will always come up here. So if you have palettes that you normally use, that's kind of a way to save time too, because you have everything up here. Anyway, so you guys will be, creating this styled artifact of your choice, and be doing your magic in regards to your Illustrator skills that you've learned so far, and applying that same look and that same feel to your piece. Trying to get the other bubble here. Layers. Any type of theme, right? So it can be any type of theme, just as long as you do your research and knowing, what that is, what that's all about. My border here is kind of weird. I think I actually clipped my border, and that's kind of why I'm having issues here. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Anyway, once I get all this details out here, I'll be a little bit more controlling over my stuff going on. I think the border, I got screwed up here. In all my layers. Yeah, I think I clipped that by accident, and then everything else wasn't working. But we'll get there. Just a matter of time. But anyway, you can see how I composited some of these images together. So I'm using different images to trace from and build off of, like the trees and the egret that I did, just like in that video of the guy that I was inspired by. The tutorial showed that as well. All right, I think we're a little bit over time here, so I'm going to wrap it up, and we can continue this as we go forward into the next lecture. You guys can bring in your work if you want to as well. If you're having issues with it, or want some extra feedback, that would probably be the best thing to do in that regards, to bring it in at that time. So let's see, we are meeting here. When's the next lecture here? And I have 2 classes, so I get kind of confused. Wednesday. Let's take a look at that so we're all on the same page here. So week 2, we are meeting here at 5:30 Eastern Time, Mountain Time 3:30. Yep. All right, so we can continue that tomorrow. Like I said, if you want to bring anything in, we can take a look at it. And could do a critique if you need to. We'll talk about your assessment too as well, and any questions that you might have. Sound good? Any questions about what I just went over? No, you're good? All right, guys. No questions? Nope. All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. You're welcome, Marla. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Bye, Lily. Bye, Michael. Have a great night.